So our farm name is Hard Rock Beef Cattle. We raise red Angus cattle, not black. Ours are red, and we have and red Simmental and Sim Angus cattle. Was surprised to find out I had the third most registrations of registered Simmental influenced cattle in the state of North Carolina, which was surprising to me because I don't have that many. But we're a cooperator farm with Red Hill Farms in Lafayette, Tennessee. So our best bull calves, if we have 100 mamas, so we should, in theory, have about 50 male babies, bull calves. Our best bull calf, so out of 50, maybe 20, will go to Red Hill Farms a month after weaning, and they will develop those bulls. Our calves are born in September and October, and we control when our calves are born by when we put bulls in, and we artificial inseminate almost every female one time. So when we put bulls in, when we artificial inseminate, we know when we're going to start calving. Obviously, this is 55 miles from home for me, so I can't be here every day all year long to check my cows. So we're pretty low input, low maintenance organization. But for those 2 months that we're calving, I'm here every day. We check every cow, every calf when it's born. We tag it, we weigh it, we grade the mother on her disposition, we grade the mother on her udder, on her teats. That calf needs to be able to get up and it needs to nurse. And if she's got big old balloon teats, it doesn't work. And she needs to have enough milk to raise a calf. And so we collect a lot of data at birth, at weaning. We preg check all of our cows. But our best bull calves go to Red Hill Farms. We give them those calves and they develop them. They have 2 sales a year, a sale the 3rd Saturday in March, 4th Saturday in October. And our bulls will sell in that sale and we get half of what they sell for. So the real quick side of the story is beef is a commodity industry, and by definition, it's break even. So that means for everybody that makes a little money, there's somebody else losing money. And the most profitable, let's say, commercial cow ranches in the world, and probably even registered, probably as a total, the most profitable ranches in the country make about $150 a calf. So that's not a lot of money for a lot of work. So it has to be a passion, has to be something you enjoy. I choose to believe you can do a little better than that, but it doesn't come easy. It's hard to do. So.
And so this is not your primary job.
This is
your
not
second.
my primary job. This is my second full-time job. So I manage a segment for RPM International. The Wood Finishes group in Hudson is owned by RPM International. They're in the group that I manage. So I have a very significant day job. But as a kid, I always wanted to be a farmer, and good Lord found a way to let me do that. So it's pretty cool, really.
It is.
Yeah, yeah.
So are you originally from Caldwell County?
I'm a native. I still live in Caldwell County in the Baton community. My dad I have cows on part of my great grandfather's farm. So there's always been some kind of agriculture on the farm. My dad owned it, sold some of it. I have a very little bit. I lease some of the rest of it, and I can't put the acreage together there that I have here. And I have about 400 acres of grass here.
And we're in Rutherford County right now.
We're in the Gilkey community of Rutherford County and such. So I'm here. I had a partner at one time and made it easy because I didn't have to come down quite so frequently, but he had some challenges, and so we had to split up. We're still very good friends. Matter of fact, I went and moved his cows for him this morning, and he helps me, I help him, but I try not to abuse that, and so I save those favors for when I really need them and such. But that's how I got so far from home, and I've just stayed with it. So.
That's good. So do you own this land or do you lease it?
I lease every bit of it. It was never my wife's dream to be a farmer. It's a farmer's wife, and she's very patient with me, and but it works well. I enjoy it. She likes to see me happy, and so it's still very good. My father helps a little bit. My son helps quite a lot, really, and my oldest grandson is 14, and he actually bush hogged most of this land last year for me with a pretty big bush hog and such. So
Awesome.
we try not to use a lot of equipment. Every time you crank it, it costs you money. And you remember, I pay for things in calves. I don't pay for it in dollars. So when I make an acquisition, I thought, oh, that's 20 calves this year. But the benefit of leasing the land, you play honest. People who own the land don't often consider that cost in their production system. It's a true out-of-pocket cost for me. So we spend north of $10,000 a year, probably $12,000 a year in lease dollars.
Wow.
So it's
400 acres is quite a bit of land.
It's quite a bit of land. That's here. We run on probably 40 acres in Caldwell County, and so what we do, we take our virgin heifers, go to Lafayette, Tennessee to Red Hill Farms, same time our bulls go. We bring a semi in and load it out, and they all ride over together. They develop our heifers. They artificial inseminate the heifers. They grow them out. I pick them up typically and bring them home end of March, early April, and the reason I do that, and I pay them a fee for doing that. The reason I do that is it allows me to calve my 2-year-olds at home. My heifers having their first calf. They're still trying to grow. They're trying to raise a baby, and we're going into winter, and they burn more energy, so nutritional demand's high on them, and so getting them to start cycling back so they will breed, it generally takes some extra nutrition.
So you keep them in baiting?
I keep those in the baiting community. I do. Now, that said, I brought them down here, today's Friday, I brought them down here Wednesday. Put them in their calves with the group of calves across the road. And I did that because the day before Easter, Saturday, we'll put everything in the corral, put everything through the working system. We, again, collect a lot of data, and the breed associations like that, but we have a pretty sophisticated customer, and they use that data. So my bull sold this year for $3,750. So I get half of that. So if we did, so that's $1,875.
Right.
I'll get for each bull that I sold over there. That's as an average. And I sold some for $5,000, some for $2,500. That would have been an $800, $750 steer, weaned.
Right.
As such, so you can see it's kind of it's worth my time to do that, and those are we all have to find our unfair advantage and what works for us, and what enables us to hopefully be profitable. I teeter-totter, profitable, make money or not. My accountant said, you need to buy something because you're too close, so, which is a good thing.
Right.
I'd rather pay taxes because I made a little money than lose more money and not pay anything.
Absolutely.
So.
Okay, so we're in your cow pasture now. Tell us a little bit about what we're seeing.
Well, I would say that most of the cows in here, I brought 16 2-year-olds coming 3-year-olds down 2 days ago. They had their first calf with them, and so we brought them down here because in a couple of weeks we will go through and booster. We've already vaccinated. We'll booster them. We'll get a weaning weight on them to turn into the breed associations. We'll get a weight on their dams. We'll get a hip height. We'll give them a body condition score. So you kind of do that by how many ribs you see, and you'll see some cows. These cows all look pretty good, but there's a few in here that's old, a little slow, and they don't hold their body condition quite as well. So we have them all here. So there's, I think, around 90 in here at the moment, pretty close, and they're calves. I think there's probably 85 calves. We had a couple calves die, and and there was 1 or 2 that didn't have a calf. So the calves that you see are September, October born calves. So they were born in September and October of 2020.
So like that calf right there is a September calf.
That calf is a September or October. Yeah, yeah. And we tag them so the numbers are sequential. First calf is going to be, this past year was H701, H702, 3, 4, 5, and so forth as we go like that. And so as we put them through the chute, we'll tattoo their ears, which the breed associations require. The bulls will put a white tag in the other ear. The heifers will put a blue tag in the other ear. And there's a few steers in here, handful of steers. And then we'll put a 840 EID button in, which is used for interstate travel, so they can cross state lines, and the vets have to give us health papers to do that. So
is that why they all have 2 tags?
Well, the cows have 2 tags, and it's just so if they lose one, I don't have to wrestle them around looking for the tattoo in their ear to figure out who they are. The calves at this point in time just have 1 tag, but that'll change a week from tomorrow is when that'll change. We'll put a 2nd tag in all their ears and tattoo and put an 840 button.
So how many people does it take when you do all that?
Well, I have a friend who comes down. We actually toll most of our cattle into the corral with feed. And so a couple days before we really need to catch them, I'll start feeding them in the corral. So they want to go in and get that little taste of feed. But I also have a friend who comes down, brings a couple of dogs, or I'll sometimes bring my dogs. And somebody will toll them to the corral. The other person will get around behind them with the dogs, and most of them will come in the corral after feed, and so we just kind of clean up on the stragglers and catch them. So there'll be a person in the corral after we get them all caught, 1 person at the alley, 2 people at the chute, and I'll be working the computer. So at least 5, and 7's better.
So once you turn them back out, then is that the point when you wean the babies from their mamas? Or
we will booster them, and ideally, it's stressful. Weaning is, and we wean on the fence so they can see each other, but they don't want to touch that electric fence and go through it or over it. So what we make a real effort to do is get them vaccinated, get them boosted at least 2 weeks before weaning. And then, so the stress at the same time as giving a shot, the efficacy of the shot, the effectiveness of it's just not good. So we don't do it at the same time. A lot of people do, but our calves are going to go to Lafayette, Tennessee, and they're going to be mixed in with a new group of animals, and who knows what they might have that ours don't.
So they really need that.
And so we want it to be as good as it can be.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you this. This is a challenge question that I just thought of. So when you vaccinate them, what things are you vaccinating them for?
We vaccinate for some respiratory diseases, BVD, which is bovine viral diarrhea, and so we use a modified live vaccine. So there's a live virus in there, and it causes the animals to build active immunity. We have, so we do that. We do some things for leptospirosis, for Harjo-Bovis, and those things are to protect the fetus in the cow, and so to help prevent them from aborting. And we vaccinate for blackleg, clostridial diseases, of which tetanus is one of those,
Right.
And so that's what we do.
So I think, and so when you vaccinate cows, you know, when we go to the store and we buy beef, of course, we buy chicken, it says antibiotic free, and I don't know if beef says that or not right off the top of my head, but that's not the kind of thing we're talking about when we're vaccinating. We're talking about keeping them healthy, just like we vaccinate people.
Just like we're getting COVID vaccines right now. This is to protect. It's not an antibiotic to fight off an infection. And you know, I have a view on that if my child is sick, if my wife is sick, if my father's sick, and the antibiotic's going to cure them, make them feel better, they're going to get the antibiotic. I'm not going to give them a dosage of it every day to keep them from getting sick, but calves, there's not a calf in here that's had an antibiotic. But last year, after weaning, I had pink eye go through the herd. And I probably had 20 calves that got an antibiotic to help straighten out, at least make them more comfortable fighting off the pink eye. So yeah, and you know, if you go to Ingles grocery store, if you go to the organic section, you'll see some beef there from Hickory Nut Gap Farms. They buy a number of my animals. And so it's kind of neat.
Good, I mean.
So it's kind of neat to see some of my animals in Hickory in the local Ingles.
So when you said you send your calves back to all the calves back to sale, or the bull calves back to sale?
I send my best bull calves go to Red Hill Farms. My heifers that I want to keep as replacements will go to Red Hill Farms. The ones that aren't good enough to go back in the herd, we historically have sold those to Hickory Nut Gap Farms, and they take them, and a lot of times they'll go to the mountains in the summer, they'll go down the eastern part of the state in the winter. They go where the best, most nutritious forages they have are. And they go there and finish them out for harvest and such. So that's typical. I still own half of my 2019 calf crop that probably will be harvested by the end of April. And so that kind of hurt cash flow last year when I did not sell those weaned calves. I retained half of them. This year I'll probably retain all of them and keep them and grow them out. And they'll either go to Hickory Nut Gap or there's a couple other people that buy fat cattle, and we'll do that ourselves.
Okay, so we're out here with these cows, and so most of them are red, and you said they're called, what's their breed name again?
We have purebred Red Angus, and we have a number of red Simmental and Sim Angus cattle.
Okay, so how do we know the difference?
By the ear tag.
Okay.
So you won't know just looking at the ear tag, but say this cow, her tag is BO15, and right above it you see a R13. R13 was a Simmental, purebred Simmental bull called Beefmaker, very popular and productive bull. This cow, F704, I'll see her, is a 176A. 176A is a bull that was raised at Red Hill Farms. So we use a lot of semen from Red Hill Farms. We buy all of our bulls from Red Hill Farms. Here comes one now, 32E. He graced the cover of their magazine a couple of times, sale catalog, and he's a EFGH. He's coming 4-year-old, and very athletic. And
you can see how stocky he is compared to the head.
we don't like big framed animals. I have some, but I like a 1,000-pound cow, 1,200 pound cow. And such. So our ear tag, if you look, this cow's an EO1. EO1, the E denotes the year she was born. 01 tells me she was the first calf born that year. And I don't know if I have it on either of her tags. Most of the time, this cow here, the F744, has an 86C above it. That's her sire. And he was a Sim Angus bull, and so I know who she is, and she's FGH. She'll be 3 years old. She's one of the cows that I just brought down, so she can see she's a little smaller. She's still growing, but but you know, she's pretty good condition. Her brisket's good and full, so she made it through the winter pretty good.
So brisket is like her belly?
No, it's kind of between her front legs right there. And you see that thing hanging there? That's a brisket and such. So this cow is a 3-year-old coming 4 years old. And she probably had a little harder winter. We pretty hard on our cattle in that we don't overfeed them. We make them do it on grass. We think that's the way the good Lord intended for them to do it.
So do you feed them hay?
Not a lot. We artificial inseminate the first Saturday in December. So as we do that, when we do that, I calve in those 4 pastures right across the road.
Okay.
And I do that because any one of those pastures, if I have a cow with problems, I can get her to the corral and take care of her breeding, you know, pull a calf or whatever. But finish up calving in October, I've got a month. And generally the grass has slowed down its growing in November. And so what we'll typically do, we'll hay in November, feed hay then, keep them close. I'll give them some grain, and sometimes we give some baleage, and we do that to, we want them on an increasing plane of nutrition, so they'll start cycling, coming into heat, and be ready to breed. But we feed an average of about 1 bale per cow a year.
So that's about 200 bales a year?
I'm sorry?
200 bales a year?
No, about 100.
About 100, because you don't think about the calves when you're doing that.
No, we look at it as a cow unit.
So do you bale that hay, or?
No, I like to make hay, but most of us don't do enough of it to justify the cost of the equipment.
Right.
Remember, it's a commodity business, so there's so little money to be made at it. And so if I have a cab tractor, you know, $70,000. If I have a pretty new baler, let's say it's $30,000. If I have just a simple disc mower and a rake and a tedder, well, I'm well over $100,000 for something that I'm going to use each piece of equipment in and of itself maybe 5 times a year. I don't care if I used it 30 times a year. It's really not a good investment of capital dollars. And so I buy my hay, and I have some good hay suppliers. And quite honestly, I can buy it cheaper than I can make it.
That makes sense.
Most people don't spend the time with a pencil and a calculator to know what it really costs them. They just look and say, well, probably hay's going for $25 a roll. So I buy big rolls from them, and if it's a you know, 500-pound roll, and they'll all be big. Let's say it's 666.67 pounds. That's a third of a ton, and if I can buy 3 of those for $25 a roll or $30 a roll, I got $75, $90 a ton in my hay.
Right.
And again, I use my time doing something else. I think it's important for us to step back and look at what we do. You want to work in the farm, or do you want to work on the farm? I want to think about what we're doing and see if we can find a better way to do it. So this H808 calf is a heifer calf out. That's her mama standing right there beside her. That's her first calf, and you see how big she is relative to her mama. So that little cow's done a really nice job with her very first calf. Another cow here, F744, and you can't see her calf, but you can see he's
as big as she is.
Yeah, he's getting pretty big, so we like that. And
there's his tail swinging right beside
oh,
her
he's
head.
happy. He's getting supper. So, you know, we're different in what we do. We graze a lot, and quite honestly, this grass is as short as I want it right now. I'll move cows in the next day or two. Probably would have moved them to the next pasture over, but a lot of low ground and all the rain that came yesterday and last night, I just didn't want them on it. So I'll give it a day or two to dry, and then we'll get them moved so we can do that. We have red cattle. Most people in the country, most people have black cattle. And if you're going to take your calves to the sale barn, you're just taking onesies, twosies, you're better off with black than red. I would tell most people that. We have red because we like red. We like to be a little different, but they're generally more heat tolerant. they'll come out of the shade about a half hour earlier than the black ones. They'll stay out in the sun about a half hour longer than the black ones, and they grow off pretty darn nice. I don't sell my animals at the sale barn. I work hard to develop a marketing program so we can get something better than what we capture at the sale barn. So I get away with having red animals and like them that way.
And tell us how you're able to not feed so much hay. Every barn we've been to before has rolls and rolls and rolls of hay.
Well,
Bales.
again, if I'm going to feed hay, I'm going to do it when I'm coming down here anyway. And we do feed some. I plan on feeding some, but not a lot. So what we do, the farm is divided up into 22 paddocks. And so when we calve in September and October, we confine the cows to 4 paddocks.
So that's like a field.
4 fields, yeah, maybe 15, 20 acres each. And we move them from one to the other and back around through those. We cycle through those a number of times. And so September, October, we put broiler litter, chicken litter,
okay,
chicken manure on our fields. And it's high nitrogen, a lot of nutrients. And if we get a little rain in September, October, we're going to grow a lot of grass. And by having those 22 paddocks, after we artificial inseminate, first Saturday in December, we move cows. And we split up into 2 groups depending on the breed, a Simmental or Red Angus. And then we move our cows. They go to a field and they start grazing the next day. And then when that grass is gone, we go to the next field. Sometimes we'll subdivide our fields with polywire and just, you know, give them a little bit at a time. Once upon a time, I moved cows every day at home and just strip grazed and kind of allocated their feed to them. But by doing that, we make our grass last longer. We also give our grass a lot of rest, and it's just like us. It works hard. It's going to grow, but when you take it off down to the ground, there's about as much root under the ground as there is on top of the ground. And so we try to leave a pretty good residual on top, a solar panel to catch sunlight and for photosynthesis to happen. So we just grow a lot of grass, and we don't give cows free choice to all of it. We don't give them free choice to anything except the paddock that they're in. So this year we move cows on fresh grass December 1st, and about the 1st of March I had to start feeding hay, and I fed for 2.5 weeks, and we went to grazing again. And so we're grazing now. There'll be no more hay fed this year.
So when you feed hay, you have to drive up here and feed them every day or every other day?
I normally put out 2 days worth. Yeah.
So that's a lot of work for you. It makes it much more maintainable to do it.
To graze. That's exactly right. And people will say, yeah, it takes too much time moving cows. Well, I'm not moving every day. I did. But I would even maintain that's less time out of my day, 15 minutes.
Right.
And most of that's walking to wherever they're at and back. I would maintain that you spend a whole lot more time sitting on a tractor making hay.
Oh yeah, when you think about the whole process.
Than I did moving cows. So it's just a difference in viewpoint. But again, the more equipment I put between this grass and their mouth, the more cost I have in my system. It's hard to make it profitable that way. So people don't know what hay costs them. And here's the other thing. I buy my hay. There's about $75 per ton of hay in nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and other micronutrients. I unroll my hay when I feed it. So I don't have all that manure around a hay ring or something. We unroll it.
So it goes out through the field.
And my cows stretch out, so the big cows, boss cows, they can't protect all of it. So everybody gets a fair share at eating it. What they don't eat, you know, it decomposes, and I just got the nutrient value off of somebody else's farm and moved it to mine. Right. So it just helps the grass keep growing that way.
That's awesome.
Yep, works for us.
So do you just roll it out in the field somewhere?
I do, yep. Yeah.
And that helps your grass not get muddy and worn out. And,
Yeah. Now you can
I
see.
mean, they like this part because it's the shade.
That it's where shade is historically. We don't have leaves yet, but they know. They're creatures of habit. They know where the shade typically is, and such. So it won't be long, and such. So
Can I ask you a question? When you talk about the data that you collect, like when you're vaccinating them, what do you keep all that data in? Like, do you write it down, or do you have a?
Well, he said he had a computer.
I have historically written it down here, taken it home, and put it in the computer, and then I have to break it out of the computer and send some of it to Red Angus and some of it to Simmental. I have a software program now. It's not especially user friendly, but it does a lot of that work for me. And I have a small mini computer that's about that wide and that tall. And I can hook a keyboard to it and a corded mouse. And I can enter all the data in that system as we collect it. And then we take that data, and this system will download to Red Angus. It'll download directly to Simmental, number of other breed associations, and then the breed associations software does an error check. I might have to clean a little something up and send it on its way. The importance of all that data is if I'm buying a bull, if you want to buy a bull from me and you've got heifers to breed, they've never had a calf before, they're a little small, what's his calf size going to be? Is he going to have great old big calves that they're going to struggle with and I got to have a vet out, or I got to do it myself, help pull those calves? Or I want that cow to be able to spit that calf out and it stand up and go nursing. I have some control over the birth size of my calves, and it's all based on averages. I have some control over what the weaning weight's going to look like, what the yearling weight's going to look like. There's heifer pregnancy. How likely are those heifers to get pregnant? How likely are they to last in my herd 10 years? There's a longevity measure. There's maintenance energy. And it's just people reporting data builds the system. We also take DNA samples on every one of our animals that we keep in the herd. And what we do with that, they can predict by gene sequences, they can predict what that animal, how good they're going to be as a production animal, and what they'll feed us back as genomic enhanced EPDs is the equivalent of them having 10 or 20 calves already that have all that data has been collected on.
So where do you send that data to? Once you get the DNA sample, where do you send that to crunch the data out?
That's there's two companies that are typically used. One of them's called Neogen, and the other is a company called Zoetis. Zoetis used to be part of Pfizer,
Okay.
who just
The vaccine.
has a COVID vaccine. They haven't had animal vaccines. And so one of those two organizations. And we used to pull blood and put it on a blotter and send them those samples. We take tissue samples now, so it just pulls out a little bitty 1/8" plug of tissue out of their ear. And so they hardly notice it.
It's like getting your ear pierced. Maybe not even
I don't,
that much.
I don't know. I don't know.
Do you do the data yourself? Like, or does the program do it, or do you just?
The breed associations take that information and they have systems. Actually, there's a national organization called the Beef Improvement Federation, BIF, and they have standards. And then the breed associations tweak and modify off of that, and they do their own calculations. So there's a little difference in the way Red Angus Association might calculate versus Angus Association of America, the Black Angus, versus Simmental or Charolais or Hereford or such. But the breed associations typically do that.
Tell us a little bit about the equipment you use. One of the places we went to was Bobcat, and we see you've got a Bobcat, I think that's called a skid steer.
That's a Bobcat skid steer. We bought that. I have a grapple for the front of it. And with that grapple, we move brush, trees that fall and such, pile brush with it. I have a bale squeeze, so I can pick bales up with it, stack them and such. I have a bush hog for it, so we can mow under our fences without,
awesome.
rather than weed eat. I have a trencher, The real reason I bought it was to put a post. I don't think I've paid for it driving post, but we've probably driven 10,000 posts.
It's paid for itself in sweat equity.
Maybe. And then we have, I have a two-wheel drive tractor. That's a hay unroller behind it. So it kind of, that pan that's up in the air lays down, and we spear a bale on the back. It lifts it up over it. We cut strings off, put it on the deck or on that pan, back up and grab another bale, and we go to the field with 2 rolls. And if I had a loader on this tractor, I'd probably have 2 on the front and make 1 trip to the field and reduce soil compaction. And then we got 1 more big tractor around there that we pull the bat wing with. But so we probably, once upon a time, I would have said we use the big tractor more than anything. Mm-hmm. I use the little tractor a lot now, and we might use the skid steer more than any of it. So
I can see how that'd be handy.
Just so the utility is so great with those pieces of equipment.
So so tell us about what makes sure the system that you handle your cows in different than everybody else's.
I don't know what everybody else has, so let me tell you.
This definitely seems longer.
Yeah, well, we have quite a few animals, and when we work cows, we like to do it fast because it's stressful.
Right.
So let's get the stress over for them. So what we have is a pretty big corral. We can put 100 mamas in the corral, and so we tend to come in the big double gates at the back. And then
that's the part with the zigzag over it.
Yeah, that's it. And so we bring them in to those feed troughs, and our feed troughs are cheap. We have a plastic drain pipe that we cut in half, and that's what makes our feed bunks.
Works.
It works, it's cheap, they're easy to move. So once we get them in here, we'll take those panels over there and we'll kind of make us a V off here, and we'll open the gate up here. We'll put them in that lane, and we tend to sort our calves in here. And sorting calves from cows is a little tough, and so what we tend to do is open this panel, swing it out of the way, open that gate, and as we walk cows down through here, one of us will be standing over there. And as calves come by, we'll just take 1 step to them. We don't even make eye contact. Try not to make eye contact. It's that whole predator-prey relationship. Take a step toward that calf and it'll almost 100% of the time duck under that. But mamas can't come under it. So we just keep putting all of our cows through at one time, and then we come back and put our calves through. We come into the tub here. And we want to handle our cattle as gentle as possible. Right. We don't want them to have a bad experience if we can help it. So so what we do, we have this open, and we bring cows down that lane. We try to put maybe 4 in here at a time. And when they come in, we'll close this behind them, and the operator can stay outside, and that spring on that bar, it'll hit on one of these. Cows can't back up, they can't back out. And so we like 3 or 4 at a time, because every one of them can go in the chute. We can shut the gate.
So you just keep sweeping it around?
We just keep sweeping it around. If there's only room for 2 in the alley here, we either wait till we got room, or we only put 2 in. We don't like them standing in here. And when they come in here, we'll shut this gate from the outside, of course, to keep them moving through. All of this, while it's outside, it's sitting on used hog slap panels. And this is squeezed down. This alley will adjust wide for cows, narrow, and where it's at right now is about where we use it for our calves. And we squeeze
They
it,
don't have big shoulders like that.
and we don't want them turning around. We need to catch their head up here. So if they can turn around, that's just caused us some problems. And so, and then, you know, we have some handles down here we can sort out of this as well. And then, let's see. There's probably, so then we come into this section, shut that behind it, and we have a weigh scale, a scale head, and this stand out here, and it sits on it, and we can weigh every cow, every calf that comes through. We'll stick a bar in here that has measurements on it. We'll get a hip height on the animals. We get a navel score on the bulls. We like a nice tight sheath on them. And once we collect all of that data, we'll put cows up here and stop them, and then we'll grade their hooves and their hoof angle. Feet are a big challenge in most breeds. And, you know, I don't want to sell somebody a bull that's has the genetics there for bad feet. And so if mama's a terrible footed animal, she's probably going to take a ride somewhere. We got to do a better job managing that. So I'll drop those bottom panels off of that after we get all this, and she'll just stand there, and we'll grade her feet. This is called palpation cage. So it's where when we're artificial breeding, we catch the cow in the head gate up there, and the vet comes in, or not the vet, we use some local folks who come in and breed for us, or I will occasionally do it myself, but I'm not in cows frequently enough. I breed one day a year. So I'd rather have somebody that does it a lot, and they're going to be better at it than I am. So we can, they go there. When the vet comes and preg checks, he's working right there. That releases the offside gate. We can work the head gate from that bar up there, but if I'm by myself, if that cow normally does not want to come that close to me. They're comfortable. You saw them about 10, 12 feet. So if I'm back here, she's wanting to get away from me. She's going to go that way. I shut my head gate from back here. Most people will be up there, and it's a battle occasionally getting that animal to come up there and put their head in when that's where I'm standing. So it's very simple. We can squeeze it down. So if we got calves that are wanting to turn around, we can squeeze them. If we got cows, whatever, that are fighting us, or we can widen it out for the cows. We have panels here that we go in to vaccinate. We vaccinate, most of our vaccinations are subcutaneous. We pull a little bit of skin up, pull it to us, and stick the needle just under the skin. We don't put it into the meat, into the muscle. It goes under the skin. And that's part of the Beef Quality Assurance Program that NCBA, National Cattlemen's Beef Association, and North Carolina Cattlemen's Association does. And they certify us periodically. So I'm certified for beef quality assurance and such. So, you know, a number of, you can get into your cow here if you need to do something. You can tell this chute's been around for a while. If we got feet that we need to work on, take a look at, we can pull this panel off. And I'll pull this panel off when the cows come in, and that's where I'll just sit here and look at feet and grade feet and hoof angle and such. And so when it's very simple, it's just a friction latch. So when we get through, that's how we let them out.
And then you let them out in the pasture.
Yeah, or we might funnel them around and send them back that way. Like I said, when we breed, we sort and go two different directions. So, yep, that's pretty much it. So.